We have an exciting partnership to announce before we get into today's Scuttlebutt. Scuttlebutt has been asked to join Reads Across America Radio, a 24/7 internet radio station where you can listen to veteran stories 24/7. You can find that on the iHeartRadio app. You can also find it on their website, readsacrossamerica.org. The Scuttlebutt will be featured Friday nights at 9 p.m. and Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. If you don't know anything about Reads Across America, they're an incredible organization, all dedicated to honoring veterans and those who gave all in service to our country. Check out the Scuttlebutt on their radio station and all the other programs that they have on their 24/7 radio station, again, on iHeartRadio app or readsacrossamerica.org. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Scuttlebutt. I'm your host, Sean Hall, Director of Programming with the Veterans Breakfast Club. We're a nonprofit in Western PA whose mission is to create communities of listening around veterans and their stories to connect, educate, heal, and inspire. You can find out everything there is to know about the VBC on our website, www.veteransbreakfastclub.org. We hope that you would join us for our live Zoom programs that happen every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. On there, we talk everything military topics, military history, all branches, all ears, all are welcome, including non-veterans, to come and learn and be educated by this living history. Today on the Scuttlebutt, I'm very excited that we will have Jack Maxwell join us. Jack is not a veteran, he's an actor, but he's hosting a new program called American Homecoming. You can find it on the website, americanhomecoming.tv. There's one episode in production. They are looking to do a full series of this. It's a really interesting and exciting program. It's a home renovation series set in the vein of Fixer Upper. While you're out, an extreme home makeover. You've all seen these on sort of HGTV. But this show, American Homecoming, has an important patriotic twist. The whole point of the show is that they are working with veterans who have been affected by war physically, who come home after their tours and suddenly are not able to live in the house that that's their home. Their website specifically says, it's an unfortunate fact that many of our veterans return from serving our country disabled to a house that no longer serves them. What was once an easy walk up a couple of steps to the front door now requires a ramp. Hardwood floors are not a luxury, but now a necessity. And navigating the house now becomes difficult and time-consuming and often aggravating. You could think about being in a wheelchair and the doors are not wide enough for you. You can't make it up your stairs to go up to your second floor. In American Homecoming, they have their one episode here online you can watch for free. They have a veteran who they sent off with his family on a surprise vacation. And meanwhile, a whole army of experts, carpenters, designers, come in with a bunch of volunteers and they mobilize and they renovate and remodel this house in a week. And I say this because I mentioned in the episode that I've recently had a bathroom remodel done, and that was one bathroom, and it took them 4 weeks. So they were able to do a renovation of his house in 1 week. And he comes back and realizes that his house has been changed, but for the better. He's now able to live in his home. An incredible conversation that I get to have today with Jack Maxwell, the host of this program. We talk a bit about his acting history. It's fun to learn about how he got started, how he was cast as the host of American Homecoming, but also just his team and what it meant to work on this with volunteers and with veterans and for a really awesome purpose. I hope that you will give this episode a listen and then check out AmericanHomecoming.tv to watch their first episode. It's something you will definitely never forget. So please like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell of the Scuttlebutt on YouTube so you're the first to know whenever we release new episodes. And you can always reach out to me, Sean, SHAUN, at veteransbreakfastclub.org with any thoughts, comments, questions, or ideas for future Scuttlebutts that you'd like to see. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy the show. Joining me now is Jack Maxwell of American Homecoming. Jack, you also have pretty an extensive background in TV and theater, which is great because the Scuttlebutt audience knows that I have a background in theater. So I'm excited to talk with you about not only your bio, but everything that you have going on with American Homecoming, which is a really exciting TV program upcoming. I'd love to give you the floor here and you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, first of all, it's nice to meet a fellow theater guy. You know, I didn't start acting until I was 29, almost 30. And I just walked into an audition. I wanted to do it my whole life. And I just didn't believe in myself, which is a really sad but good life lesson that you should always, in the face of impossible odds, or no matter what anybody says, and they said it, believe me, believe that it's possible. Not because you're good at it or because you're going to become famous or successful in your chosen career, but because you want to do it. And there's nothing more important than having passion for something, a love for something or someone. But in this case, a path to follow. And really, you're just listening to your heart. So don't let anyone ever doubt that, because they don't know you or what you're capable of. So I finally taught myself that lesson. I walked into an audition, never having had any experience in
Mm.
acting or an acting class or anything, but I just wanted to do it so badly. And trust me, I did. It was such a bad audition. I can't believe they gave it to me. In fact, they didn't. I had to come back and do it again.
Mhm.
Usually, you call that portion of the auditions callback, as you know. But I came back not knowing what a callback was. That's how green I
Wow.
was. And I just walked in and said, I'd like to do it again. And they said, "What do you mean again?" "Well, I was here the other day." "Oh, well, you see, yeah, we have to call you back, hence the term callback." And well, it was close, but you didn't get one. And they let me do it, and they gave me actually a bigger part than what I auditioned for. And I asked them why. And they said, "Because we have a feeling that you understood you weren't good. And
Mm.
still, in the face of that, you came back and subjected yourself again to possible humiliation, to rejection once again. And there's
Mm.
something about that that we admire. Don't get us wrong, you're no actor, but maybe we can help you with that." And that started it back in 1993, late 93, early 94.
I have a lot to get through with this history, but the word that's ringing in my mind is perseverance, which is going to come into play later with American Homecoming. But the actor in me says, "What role was this?" I'd love to know. Was this TV? Was this a stage production?
Yes, it was a tiny little stage production because
Mhm.
again, I had no experience. So, I was lucky they didn't throw me out. I don't think I would have got television or film, well, maybe, but in this case, it was a tiny little theater company that did their plays on a basketball court over
Mm.
2 weekends. They had to build the stage and then tear it down at the end because on this indoor basketball court at this rec center, they needed it for other things. But the play was called Curious Savage.
Curious Savage. I'm going to look that up. So
Yeah,
you were 29, late 20s, and
almost
it's
30,
something.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's something that you always wanted to do. Why did you decide now was the time? Was it where you were at in life? Like where were you at that point?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I had tried it before, or at least I dipped my toe in the water, but I never had the courage to dive in. Only because I was told, "There's no way you can be an actor. You come from the projects of South Boston.
Hmm.
You have no theater training. You have nobody in your life shaping you, teaching you. You're just learning whatever you learn from the streets, from your single mother, from whoever. You
Hmm.
just don't have that kind of depth to be a good actor, and certainly no training." So every time I tried, I was rebuffed. Even signing up for an acting class or whatever, I was told, "You just can't do it. You're just not good enough. You're not trained enough," or anything like that. There's been a million reasons why I shouldn't do it, and shame on me, but I believed them. So one day I moved from Boston with a couple of buddies to Las Vegas, and I was at this job that I wasn't crazy about, but I needed a job. I just got there, and I was reading the newspaper, and it said auditions for a play.
Hmm.
And I decided at that moment that nothing was going to stand in my way.
Hmm.
I didn't care anymore if I got rejected. I needed that line of delineation that to cross over to be able to say, at least I did it. Whether I believed them not or still had doubts, I said, "I'm going to do this regardless."
Yeah.
Not because of what people say, but because the merits of the audition, whether I get it or not, at least I'll know that I did it. See, it's not the end of the journey that proves the success. It's the journey along the way, I think,
Hmm.
the willingness to take that first step is the the true victory, I think. So I started going in that direction, and I auditioned, and they gave me a part, and then those guys invited me to an audition for this big play in this big theater company, and at the largest playhouse in Nevada,
Mhm.
and I got the lead in that somehow while I was still doing the other one.
Yeah.
And I
Work
said,
begets work. That's what we say in the acting. Once you get work, suddenly like everything avalanches and work begets work and you suddenly start acting a ton.
yeah, and it's not just the work, it's the belief in it. A lot
Totally.
of people will say, and perhaps there's some truth to this, that it's not the doing of the acting job that's the hardest part. It's the getting it,
Yep.
right? It's putting yourself in that mind space. And once you book the job, then it can be fun. Sure, it's hard work and a lot of lines to learn and all that, but
Mhm.
it's getting it that's the hard part. So to me, it was the doing of the audition. Whether I got it or not, I had to face the fact that up to that point, I talked myself out of it and I let other people do so. So just doing it to me felt like an accomplishment. And then from there, I've been doing it ever since.
So take me back a bit to South Boston. Where did this sort of passion come from, and the idea of perseverance? Was this something you said, a single mother? Lead us through sort of your early life. You know, what got you going in that early time?
Yeah, I'm sure at first probably a bit of escapism and fantasy. I lived in the projects, which was of South Boston back in the 70s. Um, a somewhat challenging place to live, let's say,
Hmm.
at the time. And single mother, very young. I had a baby sister. And for me, I just gravitated, I think, to that. I was pretty decent at sports, play a lot of street hockey in the neighborhood, stick ball, what have you.
Yeah,
And one of the things I remember is just watching Batman and the old TV series that was on
yeah.
with Burt
Adam
Ward
West.
and Adam West,
Yeah.
yes. And I said I wanted to do that. And I remember my mother telling me, "Oh, well, you see," because I wanted to be Batman and Robin, both of them at the same time. But my mother said, that's not really Batman and Robin. You know that." And I said, "Yeah, Ma, I know. It's Dick Grayson and
Bruce Wayne.
um, Bruce Wayne." Yes. And she said, "No, it's not even them. It's guys playing them playing." And so once I grasped that, I understood that I could create my own world of escape and fantasy, like I said,
Mm,
and started wondering what that was. And then when I was a little bit older, I saw this TV series called QB7 with Anthony Hopkins and Ben Gazzara, and I was riveted. And my mother was so surprised that an adult program, miniseries that you had to watch. I don't know if it was over a series of nights or over a couple of weeks. I forget now, but it
mhm.
was so fascinating to me, and that's when I first developed an interest. Unfortunately, it took another 20 years before I auditioned for anything for the reasons I stated. But
That's
I'm
okay.
glad I
Wasn't it
did.
wasn't it Bruce
That set the
Willis?
hook.
Yeah, wasn't it Bruce Willis who was like a bartender in his like late to mid 30s of almost 40s, and then he was cast in Die Hard, and then the career he has had.
Sure.
But
Well, Moonlighting before that was such a great series, and I think that's where we all got to see the talents of Bruce Willis, and
totally.
America fell in love with him. But yeah,
So you do some theater. Obviously the bug had finally bit you.
oh yeah,
How do you get into TV?
yeah. Well, I did those back-to-back plays in Las Vegas, and then I did another one I got into an acting class and took it very seriously and studied the craft and learned uh, how to go about that.
Mhm.
And then a TV show came to Las Vegas called The Watcher. It was on the old UPN
Mhm.
channel, and I auditioned for a part and got it. And then a few weeks later, that same director came back because in television they rotate, generally speaking,
Yeah.
and he called me back in and said, "I'm not supposed to do this, but I really liked what you did, so we'll make you a doctor and put a mask on. You'll have to audition, but I like you as an actor, so as long as you don't blow the audition, you'll get it." And I did, and I had to wear a mask, and then for some reason, I was accused of bursting an aneurysm in a patient's head, and while I was on the operating table, so I ripped the mask off, and I'm so distraught. And the director came up to me and said, "You're going to be all right in this business. You know exactly what to do. Your instinct was to pull it off, and now I got your face on camera, but I'll deal with that." So that was the first bit of television I did, and then I decided I can't stay in Las Vegas. Not enough work
Yeah.
comes here. I'm gonna have to make the move. So I went to Hollywood, quote end quote,
Yeah.
and been here ever since.
What was now that's got to be somewhat of a culture shock. East Coast guy moving into California. What was your experience sort of transitioning to the West Coast?
Sure. Well, Vegas was the in between. You know, I
Hmm.
went there, like I said, with a couple of friends of mine, just for a lifestyle change, and that's where I started acting. And I'd made a couple of trips while I lived in Las Vegas. I lived there probably a couple of years anyway, 2.5 years.
Hmm.
And so I made a couple of trips to LA. So I saw that it was okay. And, you know, I liked the people. I loved the warm weather of Southern California. So
Much
it
better than
wasn't
Boston. Much better
yeah,
than
a lot
Boston.
much better than Boston. I love where I'm from. I love my hometown.
Mhm.
I grew up in Southie, and I know that you know there's been a lot of movies about that,
Mhm.
and a lot of talk about it. And some people claim they're from South Boston who are not. I don't know why you would do that, but anyway, that just specifically that's where I came from. But they're two big cities. It's not like I came from a tiny little town in Arkansas or something where it was such a difference. I still understood big city life, but
Mhm.
it was nice. You gotta love that the sunshine and warm weather. That's for sure.
Oh, totally. So, let's bring us up to speed then. It's different for you to act in a TV show, but then come to host, American Homecoming. And how did you get involved with American Homecoming and fill us in on what it is?
Yeah, I had this wonderful agent, uh, my very first agent, who really believed in me, and it just meant everything to me.
Hmm.
And she thought that I was capable of much more than I thought I was capable of, and she thought I'd make a really good host. In her words, and she was sitting next to a hosting agent at this event, and started saying, "I have this guy; he'd make a great host." And he said, "No, no, no, I want real hosts, not actors who think they're hosts." Anyway, I got a meeting with him. He decided to rep me, and because we got drunk together, I'm sure he regretted that. But the first thing he sent me out on, I booked the job, and from that, um, the president of a network saw me on that and offered me this other thing to host. And so I'd go back and forth. I mean, I truly love acting. But when Booze Traveler came around, a show I hosted for Travel Channel, it's really hard to say no to seeing the world and traveling and having a couple of cocktails and having a steady gig. It was
Yeah.
really great. So I'd like to think that I can do both. The truth is, though, I have to take whatever work comes around.
Hmm.
But I really enjoy hosting. There's something about having all that responsibility on my shoulders, to carry a show and to be yourself. You know, it's odd. Acting training teaches you other things. Hosting, you have to forget about all that and
Hmm.
just be yourself. You have to put away anything that feels like you're acting and just respond in the moment truthfully as yourself. So it's a
Yep.
different thing. You can't hide behind a character. So it's really nice to go back and forth and to be able to do both. And lucky, you know, I'm really honored that I occasionally get work in both areas.
So American Homecoming, this show is based around helping veterans and then helping to refashion their house to accommodate the needs that they have now. And how did you hear about it? How did you? Is it something that stuck out? You said, "I want to do this," or "I want to be a part of this project."
Well, I wasn't even aware of it. Certainly, I was well aware of veterans and their struggles when they come home and how we really don't take care of them, in my opinion, like we should. Send them
Mhm.
off to war, defend our freedoms, represent our country, and then when they come back, I always believed that we didn't do enough for them. But I thought, what can I do? And then all of a sudden, this guy reaches out to me through a mutual friend, Tracy Trost, who created American Homecoming. He was the director, the writer, the executive producer, the creator, and he reached out and said, "Hey, I'm developing this show, and our friend who's a well-known actor said I think Jack can help you shape that." And truth is, it didn't need much. I just gave him my 2 cents now and then, but he really put it all together, and finally was ready to shoot it. And he asked me if I wanted to be the host, which was wonderful compliment. I said, "Sure, I'd be honored to do a show like that." And we found a vet who was in need. This particular gentleman was in a wheelchair, and his spine was being crushed. by the cancer that he developed. And so you can imagine just wherever it is that you live, imagine all of a sudden you have to live like that now in a wheelchair, y- navigating the steps, negotiating through the twists and turns, or rolling it over thick carpeting, perhaps. So what the conceit of the show is to give them a semblance of their life back, right?
Hmm.
In whatever way we can, to make it at least not as difficult as it is normally. So they take out the steps and they put in ramps, at least in the front of the house. Um, they widen the doorways, which in itself is a huge job. And then there's a remote with which they can open all the doors in their home. They rip out the carpeting and put in hardwood floors. They take out the tub and put in a huge shower that they can just roll in, and the knobs are easy to turn on and off, and all of that. And the aesthetic, they make this a beautiful home, not just functional, but they painted and put in shelving. So we had a designer and a lead construction guy and a master craftsman, and that's all part of the show, which, by the way, can be found at American Homecoming TV. It's online right now only. It's a different approach as opposed to going to a network. But
Hmm.
I think that I think this is the right way to do it, certainly for now. And I couldn't be prouder to be part of this. It's really wonderful. You know, we all like to work in whatever field we want to work in. To me, it's acting and hosting. But then to be a part of something that is not just entertaining, but you feel is important, and you give back just a little bit. Yes, I guess I can't find another word. I'm very proud to be a part of this.
Oh, of course, certainly. And even watching the trailer of American Homecoming, you well up seeing the change in their lives, the things that they are dealing with, and then suddenly, they have this brand new home that just, like you said, functions for them and their family. Did you have any military veterans in your family? How aware were you of the veteran community before being involved with the TV show?
Yeah, I come from a very small family. I just have one sister. My mother just has one sibling, a brother. Uh, my grandmother just has one sibling, a brother. So
Hmm.
there's not a lot of people there. But my father was in the Navy when he was
Hmm.
young. He was 17 when he joined, and on my mother's side, my great uncle was actually a bombardier in
Hmm.
World War II, and he was shot down, and he was a prisoner of war in a Nazi camp um, for a period of time.
Hmm.
So of the small family, we've had some people that have, given themselves in service of this country. Thankfully, they both made it out alive. My great uncle certainly was traumatized by his experience, but yeah, a few people in my family have served. Not like there's a whole line of fathers and sons doing it, but I thought that since I didn't serve, this was a great way to give back just a little.
I certainly understand that. I didn't serve personally, but being a part of the Veterans Breakfast Club and being able to provide platforms for veterans and people such as yourself who are doing projects with veterans and passionate about veteran stories and veteran issues, it is just I just feel very honored to be a part of that. So I totally can understand. Did your great uncle ever talk about his experiences? Was that something that was okay to talk about?
Well, since we're going down that path, he never did.
Mm.
He was tortured and beaten, and in order to, I guess, try to mask the pain a little bit, he
Mhm.
started drinking. He became he was a happy drunk when he drank, but it was the only way he could deal with it. Never talked about it,
Yeah.
and he just never would. He just avoided the subject. And when he passed, uh, underneath his bed was a lockbox that we found, and inside postcards that he wrote to his mother, saying, "Dear mom, uh, the Nazis are treating us well. The war will be over soon. Clearly, they're winning." And they were forced to write these postcards. Otherwise, they couldn't write home at all. So he would
Mm.
try to write in code and different things. And
Right.
when he left, he told his sister, my grandmother, that a Nazi guard took his swastika off his arm and handed it to him and said, "No hard feelings. It's just war." And that very same armband was in that lockbox. It just to see it, to feel it, just felt like it was touching evil. It's just something that it was
Yeah.
just such a stark reminder of the mass genocide that took place under that regime.
Hmm.
and how the world could be different if they'd won. And I just realized how much he must have gone through, that he couldn't talk about it at all, ever, which is too bad, because you'd like to think that someone would have saw this vet and said, "We can get you help. We can put you into a program where you can talk about your issues. We can treat you in various ways." But that wasn't available to him back then. That's why I'm really happy to be a part of this, to start the conversation, to say we must do more. We owe them this. It's
Hmm.
easy to sweep it under the rug, but it's our obligation not to do so.
So lead me through that first episode. What was, how did the veteran respond to this, his house being completely refashioned and remodeled into the new home? Because if you do this much work to it, we're having a bathroom remodeled, and that seems like a Herculean task. But this sounds like way more extensive.
Oh yeah, this is how it sets up. So the vet agrees, and he has to, sign paperwork and all that, that he trusts them.
Yeah,
Not
of
me,
course they're gonna come in with sledgehammers. You gotta sign
not,
something, right?
not me, but they give them an idea of what it is they're going to do, but nothing specifically. And I got to give him a lot of credit. He trusted us. He said, "Okay, sure. I guess that it sounds like a good idea, because it's not livable the way it was. He knows something must be done, so he allows them to go in and to refit the whole house and design it and paint it and add woodworking and artwork and everything. And it's so great. He goes away for a week, and then he comes back, and we load cameras onto his approach vehicle, and just to see the trepidation on the way in to down the streets, and you can hear him and you can see him. Oh, I wonder what they did. And you see he's getting nervous, and it's this wonderful real time honest reaction to thinking, what must have happened here? And then we wheel him up the sidewalk, and there's no steps there anymore, up this very short ramp to his house. And I stop right before, and I give him the remote control, and I say, click that right there. And the door opens, and it's a wider doorway. And it's amazing, by the way. I got to give Tracy and his army of volunteers uh, a shout out. They were so, I can't believe they were able to do that in such a short time, because it really did all happen within a week. But then he rolls up to the house, and he looks up and he takes it all in, wondering, is this a good idea or maybe not a good idea? And as he comes through the door, his reaction, which I'll save because you should see the show.
Right.
Uh, and again, it's American Homecoming TV. And as he comes in, he has this wonderful, honest, beautiful reaction. And then from there, there's another twist, another really wonderful surprise. And I'll save that, of course, for Lynn. But to answer your question, he had a big and real reaction to what happened. And well, the rest, as they say, is history.
You're a master of the tease. You may have done some work in soap operas. Like there's a good like hook
Dun,
there.
dun, dun. Actually, Sean, I have to be honest. I'm not even me. I'm my evil twin.
Oh boy. Yeah. What'd you do with the good one? Um,
Yeah.
well, it sounds so wonderful. How many veterans did they help within the first season?
Well, actually, we just shot a pilot. And
Okay.
generally speaking, as you know, being an actor in television, either
Hmm.
you shoot a trailer, which is called a teaser, or a sizzle reel. Maybe you do a pilot. In this case, of course, it's really hard to understand the scope of the show just
Hmm.
doing a 2 or 3 minute trailer, as they call them, or sizzle reel. So Tracy decided to do a whole pilot, and you really have to do that to redo the whole house. You don't want to just put this in a little short little thing. You want to see the expanse, the impact it has, the how you change the house completely.
Yeah.
And I think that has to be done over a whole pilot. So we shot that. It's up on the website. And perhaps if it gets picked up by a network or a streamer or cable, maybe it'll be there. But for now, that pilot lives right at the website.
And it's free to watch.
Yes, absolutely. And because we would like to start this conversation, as we say, about veterans and their needs and taking care of them when they come home,
Mhm.
um, it's we're asking that you share it if you click on it, if you know about it, if you watch it, if it speaks to you, please share it with as many people as you know, because we got to get the word out.
Well, I think this is such a great TV show in the sense of not only does it help out veterans, but we know the popularity of stations like HDTV, or they have tons of programs about people going in and demolishing the house and rebuilding it or remodeling or refinishing it. And we get to watch the whole process of selecting all these different things, and the process of watching. I mentioned that we're doing a bathroom remodel right upstairs in my house currently, and it's been fun and I'll say that one bathroom remodel in our house is taking 4 weeks. So for them to remodel an entire house in 1 week blows my mind. They must be working
Mm.
24 hours a day.
Yeah, me too. And they
Yeah.
were, yeah.
But to watch the guys upstairs and to take pictures of the process of this, that demo took, 2 days. And then suddenly this bathroom that we had that was basically a postage stamp on our third floor is now being expanded and moved, and how beautiful it looks already. And like to see all the studs and think, how are they envisioning this? That leads me to the team that is involved in this, the volunteers that are doing it, which is amazing in its own right, because you usually have to, on a TV show, pay talent, pay for engineers, pay for master electricians, things like that. But for guys to just volunteer their time to be able to refashion this for a veteran is just, I tip my cap to it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, they really worked hard. And as you just said, they worked around the clock. And it's amazing how they knew it was for a purpose greater than themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? To turn this house once again into a home. They felt a calling. This is not something they did to be on TV. They couldn't care less about being on television. They wanted to do this wonderful deed for this man who really needed it. And I I had the easiest job, to be honest. I just had to facilitate the whole thing and to host it. I'm not great with a hammer or a drill or a saw. I did a little bit of work when I was instructed how to do so. But again, it was so great to be a part of it. As small a part of it as a part of it as I was,
Mm-hmm.
it was really thrilling and exciting to know that we were all chipping in for this uh, in this wonderful endeavor for this guy who it's gonna be like that, you know? I mean, I can't imagine. I couldn't even be in a wheelchair for one day. I
Mm-hmm.
can't imagine knowing that you're gonna be there the rest of your life.
It's interesting because part of our network at VBC, we have a couple gentlemen who had lost an arm in Vietnam, and Harry Van Riper, his name sticks out to me mainly because we've talked with him, we've featured him in our VBC magazine, and he will say, even despite the fact that he is being fashioned for a prosthetic arm, that he doesn't even need the arm at this point. He's lived without the arm for so long that he
Wow.
just the way that he lives, he just understands how to work with his body. So something that could be completely foreign to me as a civilian and watching and saying, how do you do this? There's something about veterans that I've learned over the course of the last several years, is just how they persevere. Going back to that word, how they persevere through trauma, how they persevere through difficulties, and just like living in their house, living with the way that the war may have changed them. It's something incredible to watch, and something for the American Homecoming. The fans who will tune in, the people that will see this and say, "Wow, what an incredible life!" And yeah, you've been able to refashion this home to function better for him, and he's able to move right in and be able to like, I can breathe. I don't have to be challenged by the doorway anymore. I can live in my home, which is just incredible. But I want to go back to one thing that you just said, because as an actor, we're usually pretty good. Not maybe we not be the best with a hammer, but we are fast studies. Because half the time you're going to walk on stage and they're going to say, "Well, here's a sword. Let's figure out how to use it." And you have to do it. You have to do it in the moment. So I just want to speak to your talent that, if you're walking on set to help out, I'm sure that you were pretty adept.
Well, I don't know about that. One of the things that's important to me is authenticity when I'm being
Mm,
myself. It's one thing when you're a character and you're fulfilling the author's intentions when you're doing a play or a television series or a movie, and people understand that you're someone else. But when I'm myself, I want to be as real as possible. And I did this show for Travel Channel called Booze Traveler. When I went around the world studying cultures and what they drank and why they drank it, etc. And on that show, I didn't want to ever read lines. I
Mm.
wanted to just act in the moment, not act. I wanted to react in the moment and be real and really drink what I said I was drinking. And these are real people. It was never a put on. So same with this. I didn't want to make it seem like I was more handy than I really am. So
Yeah.
I make fun of myself with these particular tools because I know I'm not good. And anyone watching who has any experience at all would say he's never done that before. And it's not that I haven't done it enough compared to, of course, relative to all the people who were experts and were working through it and all. And we didn't
Mhm.
do it just to have the host do it, but to show that no matter what you can do, even in the smallest amounts, it's worth it to pitch in whatever you can do it. Whether you can do big things or little things, do it anyway.
Mhm.
Pitch in because it all helps.
Can you talk a bit about your co-host? Is Cece Mazik?
Yeah, she was great. She was a sergeant first class, I believe, in the army and jumped out of a plane, and her chute got tangled with another chute. And with all her training, she was able to uh, undo it and work it and cut away and all of that, but she just couldn't help it because the wind smashed her into someone else. So she was able to, but just a little too late, and she hit the ground straight on as opposed to knees bent, and shattered a couple of vertebrae. And she now is in that position. And again, she did it in service to her country. And so she was a wonderful co-host to have, Cece was, because she understood exactly what it's like to have to be in a wheelchair and all of the challenges. And she even says this, and it's such a great bit of insight. She said the biggest thing that being in a wheelchair is your independence. You want to be independent. You don't want to rely on other people or have to rely on them. You know that you're limited, but here is not limited. So you want to do as much as you can for yourself. And it's important that you do so. So that's how Tracy approached doing the home so that we could give our vet, Garrett Robitaille, his independence
Mhm.
to some degree. Clearly, you're going to be limited, but keeping that in mind. That was it. It wasn't just the aesthetic or the functionality. It was also what can we do to make him independent. And Cece was really good at expressing that. So it was great to be her co-host. And then there's Dave Riley, he
Mhm.
who was in the Coast Guard. He has no arms, no legs, missing some organs because he caught a bacteria in the river while he was in the Coast Guard, and he became a master craftsman after losing his limbs. A master craftsman. As a matter
Mhm.
of fact, he makes a very important thing that's part of this show that really this wonderful, beautiful moment at the end of it, at the end of the episode. He's responsible for this particular thing that helps us get there. But I mean, unbelievable. Here I am making excuses for things that I can't do, and with just this I don't know how to
The
say it. There's
prosthetics.
prosthetics.
Yeah.
Yeah, prosthetics that look like hooks more than really,
Yeah.
all the fingers. It's not all that intricate, is what I'm saying. And he still became a master craftsman. He really has my admiration. And then Kara, the designer, did such a beautiful job. And Jimmy, our contractor, he made sure everybody just got everything they needed to get this thing done.
Mhm.
This team is amazing. And like I said, I was just a small part of it, but just to watch them, I was in awe of the whole process. I knew what was happening and what the result was going to be, or somewhat anyway. But just to watch everybody and see how good they were, they that whole team has my admiration. Not just Cece, she certainly does, but all of them. It was such a great thing. I hope we're able to do more episodes because it's important work.
Being a non-veteran yourself, but watching other veterans who are part of this production helping out a veteran in shaping the home, what did it mean to them? Did they have any conversations with you about like, boy, I would love for this to be something that we could do for everybody?
Yeah, we had this roundtable discussion um, after I interview Garrett, our Navy vet who's in the wheelchair, and we all sit around this table and talk about our responsibilities, our
Mhm.
obligations, and what it's like. And the other vets in the room talk about that and how important it is that they give back. And that's why they were there. They're not in television, they're not actors or TV hosts. They wanted to do it simply to give back because they understood firsthand what it's like to be in that position.
What is the best way for other, is American Homecoming TV? Is there another way
Mhm.
for people to engage or to help out, donate?
Right now, you just go there and all the information is there. You become a delegate, which doesn't cost anything. You just by doing that, you're giving a certain commitment that you'll share the word. That's all, so we can get this thing, like I said, this conversation started, and so that we could all understand even further what we must do for our brave men and women who can't come back from service. And it doesn't mean they have to be in the theater of war in a foreign land. They could be serving here on base and something could happen to them, which happens often too. So just go to the American Homecoming.tv, and you could, it's pretty self-explanatory, or you could follow me at Southie Jack on Twitter and Instagram. And that's a tribute to my neighborhood in which I grew up, Southie, Southie Jack, Southie Jack.
Mhm.
And you can always reach out. And if you have questions about the show or where it's going to be, I'll get back to you as soon as I can, of course. But that's the place to go to find out more about the show, American Homecoming.tv.
Jack, it's always in our sort of in the acting field. We always say, "Hey, what are you working on now?" So, other than American Homecoming, what else do you have coming up?
I have a couple of projects, a show I created, that we're taking out, as they say, a couple of little things, but I wouldn't want to dilute the importance of this particular project. American Homecoming means so much to me. It seems almost trite or trivial to talk about my other things because it's not about me. It's about the vets and helping them as much as we can. This isn't just about promoting a television show. That's not why I'm here. It's about understanding the cause and what we all must do. If we feel any responsibility to that, we should do what we can. And I'm not imploring people to do so. It's still a television show, as it were, and hopefully it's entertaining and moving and interesting. But we want to get it out there. So maybe I'd be very happy to come back on to talk about my other projects. But today it's about Garrett Robitaille, the vet that whose house we were able to transform with his permission, and the vets in general. So I think this is about them today, if that's okay with you.
Perfectly okay. Well said and well put. And Jack, I really want to thank you for the time today. If you're listening, please check out the description of the podcast, or here on YouTube, check out the description. You'll get the link to AmericanHomecoming.tv. Just click on that, give the show a watch, become a delegate, please. And also for my Scuttlebutt audience, please like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell on YouTube so you're the first to know whenever we release new episodes. And you can always reach out to me, Sean, SHAUN, at veteransbreakfastclub.org if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, or have ideas of future upcoming episodes. Jack, it's been an honor and a pleasure to hear you speak so passionately for this project. I'm hoping that everybody takes in American Homecoming and becomes a delegate and gets the word out for you.
Thank you, Sean. Likewise. Thank you for what you do.
Oh, of course. And I'm going to take you up on bringing you back on. So I'll reach out.
Sounds good.
All right. Have a great day.
Okay. You too. Bye bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Scuttlebutt. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Tobacco-Free Adagio Health. Tobacco-Free Adagio Health has been supporting the podcast for quite some time now. We've been so pleased to be supported by them. They are dedicated to reducing and preventing tobacco use and getting the word out about the hazards of smoking and secondhand smoke. They're all about health, so they want people to quit. They have classes, nicotine replacement therapy, and a popular quit line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW. They also educate people, children especially, about tobacco use from cigarettes, cigars, pipes, chew, snuff, and other nicotine products like vaping. And finally, Tobacco-Free Adagio Health advocates for public and private policies that ensure healthy places to live, work, and play. You can learn all about what Tobacco-Free Adagio Health offers at tobaccofree.adagiohealth.org, or you can check out the 2 Scuttlebutt episodes that featured Tobacco-Free Adagio Health. We had a wonderful representative come on to the podcast, talk to us about all the classes and therapies that they offer. It was 2 wonderful conversations, so I definitely direct you to both of those if you want more information, or just call their free quit line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Thank you again, Tobacco-Free Adagio Health, for your support.